Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I just want to welcome you all to our event today. This is Relationship Builders Forum, and I hope you all can hear me, Claire. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I just want to welcome you all to our event today. And one of the things that we'll be talking about, I just want to say it's a very, very, very sensitive issue. And I just want us to bear in mind that the people that we've brought on board today, I would say that they have availed themselves because not everyone feels comfortable talking about issues like this. And this is one issue that in Christendom, in the church, a lot of people shy away from discussing. There's a whole lot of stigma around this particular issue. And it's kind of a very, very touchy issue for a lot of people to touch on. So I just want to give a big thumbs up to our guests today for, coming up to, share with us and just have a conversation, basically, because that's what we're going to be doing today about things like this. And I'm sure that I hope that you will find it of value. Our first guest today is Joy Lifechangers. She's an inspirational woman. I just want to introduce her. Joy Lifechanger is a thought leader with a transformational message of purpose and destiny. She is presiding apostolic over the Lifechangers Global Ministries. She has committed her life to helping those that God brings on her path by teaching them how to understand purpose and motivate them to fulfill destiny. She invests in the lives of men, women, and even children all around the world on a day-to-day basis through various platforms like the TV, the radio, social media, and she has a strong passion for seeing women being fulfilled and has designed several programs to help women walk through their destiny. So she's got lots of initiatives like Royal Women Academy, Polish, the Love Movement, and so many more. She has also published the Women of Influence magazine as a celebration and recognition of women in our society. And she is consistently making impact in her world. She has a strong mandate, and she's actually told us about this, that she wants to see not just women, but everyone that God actually brings her way, including men, including youth, including children, being the mother of 3 young adults herself. So, time will fail me to really, really talk about her. She's well-traveled. She lives in the US, and she's been to different parts of the world, including Nigeria, United Kingdom, Ghana, and so many. She is also a philanthropist. Wow. So you see, this woman is a woman of many shades. Time will fail us to really delve in to talking about her, but I'm sure we'll get to know her as we continue.
All right, I want to quickly introduce the man between the 2 women who are going to talk today. I've known him for more than 21 years, and he's a wonderful person. I'm talking about Dr. Petros Ndubeze. He is a doctor of optometry. He finished from Abia State University. In fact, that's where we met. And he has master's in public health from Southern Connecticut. Sorry, I'm not from University. And he's the associate director, quality management, New York City Health and Hospitals. He has several hobbies, one of which is he travels a lot. I know that for sure. He likes traveling. He tries different things like reading. He's a worshiper. He's a dancer. He loves music. There's so much I can say about him, even as a choral or choir director. He loves a lot of things. He likes reading as well. So I want you to relax. We would have him on board to share with us his wealth of knowledge and experience.
So I want to introduce the third person, and this is one lady that I really don't want. In fact, I'm just going to read to you. She is a prophetic worshiper. She's a songwriter. She's a singer. She's also an author. She's an intercessor. She's a prophetic dancer. She's a radical revivalist. Pastor Amara has empowered many women and helped them rise above limitation, societal labels, soaring above and fulfilling their God-given purpose, as well as even helping them to maximize their purpose. She is also a coach, and she engages on personal development, and she also is into mentoring. She's also a counselor. She hosts a lot of seminars, conferences, talk shows. Basically, this is another powerhouse, another powerful woman. Pastor Amara is the president of Women on Their Knees International, so Wailing Warrior Women, which has a presence in many countries. Now, if you're a lady and you desire a drastic change, she also has got a Facebook and a YouTube community, which she calls Women on Their Knees International. And she is a sought after speaker. She is a transformational coach, and she's a preacher. Now, time will also fail me to introduce this woman because her CV and the things she's even written here are way, way, way beyond everything. She's a catalyst, she's a game changer. In fact, let's just wait. Let's just dive into this session today and let's begin to have this conversation. Now, I will stop sharing my screen now and then we will start talking. Now, let me just say that this is a very sensitive issue. So I'm going to stop sharing, okay? And then I just want us to have a conversation today. And please, thank you everyone for joining in. I just want to appreciate all of our attendees for making out time amidst busy schedule. You know, this is a Sunday. A lot of you should have been home chilling with your family and you're here with us today.
Yeah.
Now let's start by asking a question, because today we are looking at married, but now single. What next? So I would start by asking the question, could you tell us a little bit about your marital experience? So I would start with Pastor Amara, please, if you want to go first, and then I would go on to Dr. Bettles, please. Are you there? Okay, Dr. Bettles, could you go first? Could you tell us a little bit about your marital experience, please?
All right. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for having us. Gospel and Amara, you guys have been a very wonderful couple to actually look up to. Even though I met both of you as students, both of you were younger, while I was in school. But I followed your relationship, and it's something that really gladdens my spirit each time I see what God is doing in your lives and what God is also using you guys to accomplish in the lives of every married or single people. So personally, on my own side, just like when you're little, everybody expects to grow up, have this wonderful marriage, live in a big old house, have kids running around and everything. So marriage is something that we look forward to with excitement. And personally, it was something that I also look forward to with excitement. But unfortunately, every of our dreams do not just, come to pass the way we kind of envisage it. So for me, my marriage at some point became something I could not stand anymore. So like I mentioned to Gospel earlier, I don't want to start apportioning blames to my ex-wife, but one thing I know for sure is that every marriage that is destined to fall did not actually start from the moment you guys got married. There are some things that in your spirit you knew that God was kind of showing you, hey, watch out. But somehow, in the name of either love or infatuation or whatever, you just dive into it. And I think I became a victim. and for me, that was so much sign that I shouldn't go into the marriage, but because I know too well that there was somebody I wanted to marry. Let me put it, I was somebody I wanted to marry, and it couldn't work out. And I already set out a timeline when I wanted to get married. So for me, the timeline became more important than the marriage itself. So I was bent on getting married at a particular time. So I was introduced to my ex, and I just realized that from the moment we started talking and everything, I realized that some of our principles were not the same. But in your head, you always believe that, oh, you can fix it, you can fix her, you can fix him. It's not always the case. So because we didn't resolve some of these issues, got into marriage, and reality sets in. And unfortunately, some of those realities I set in were things I ought to have known before the marriage. And it took me like 4 years into the marriage to realize that we were not even going to have kids. So at that point, I felt like I have made the worst mistake of my life, because going to the marriage, one of the things you look forward to is like, just like the Bible says, multiply, be fruitful and all that. When I realized that this was something that ought to have been communicated to me before marriage, I felt disappointed, I felt deceived. And for me to have discovered even 4 years into the marriage, in a doctor's office, something that ought to have discovered, or something we should have discussed before the marriage, it became like it tugged in my spirit, because I was now fighting between my faith, or what religion has stuck in my head for years, or you cannot divorce and all that. So it took me another year to actually sit myself down. I'm like, I know. And we tried to have a conversation from that point. And I discovered there were so many other things that I did not know about that I ought to have known before the marriage. So at that point, trust was gone, completely gone. So, and I felt the best thing for us to do is to move our own separate ways. And that was exactly what happened, even though it took the involvement of police officers, court, and all that. But at the end of the day, we got it done. And I'm happier today than I was, because I strongly believe in marriage, and I strongly believe that marriage is something that should be enjoyed. And if you are in a situation where constantly you are enduring your marriage, that the mere sight of the person creates fear, panic, anger, inside of you, then there's a problem. And I didn't want to be another statistic of an angry Black man who killed his wife in the US because of one thing or the other. So I decided to take a better highway out. I know, the church condemned me, the church, because the truth of the matter is that people do not understand or know what is going on in your family. You know what is happening. Even though I'm telling this, I'm not really giving all the details, in the story. There were a lot of things that happened, where you kind of, try to tolerate a lot of things. You are trying to make things even work. You try to even talk yourself into not looking at the reality. You try to use scriptures to bamboozle yourself. But at the end of the day, you still will be faced with reality. And that was what happened. And today I'm happy, that we parted ways. And that's just a little story about my relationship that I can actually talk about right now.
Wow. I just want to say we appreciate your honesty. We appreciate you sharing this. because we know how personal this can be. And we also know that not everyone feels comfortable coming out there and, sharing their story in a manner that you've done that. So we do appreciate this, and we hope that, people who are currently watching it and, in attendance right now would be able to lend, their voice also to this whole conversation as well. Please, if you are attending, we would appreciate you to ask questions, and we would pass that on to our guests today. So please use the chat button and put on your questions, and then we would definitely pick that up as we carry on. Now, let's go on to Pastor Amara, because we want to know what are your views. So could you tell us a little bit about your marital experience? I hope you're back now.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, I just want to say thank you to Gospel and Amara. It's amazing to be hosted by you today. I just celebrate you and keep on doing the good work you're doing. You're actually transforming lives. Yes. For my experience in my marriage, oh my goodness, this is actually my first time of just saying it publicly, except when I'm preaching. Okay, it started like a very, very loving, romantic, sweeping me off my feet kind of relationship. And I would say that you don't know people until you come very close to them. Sometimes what we see as a gift sometimes is actually the devil bringing it to you, only to pull you down. So we have to be careful in any relationship we find ourselves in. And before you go into that relationship, you need to ask yourself some questions. Are we together on this journey? Because in some situations, you may have a different purpose, and the person has a different purpose. And by the time you come together, you just find out that two of you are not together at all. You find that the man is going the left way and the woman is going the right way. And for someone that has been in the ministry for a very long time, and the society has made you to understand that you need a man, you need a covering. If not, people don't value the grace or the oil of God upon your head. Is a bit of a challenge. And yeah, it was a nice experience until we got in there. It was a nice experience until we said adieu. And I don't want to say this thing so much here. At the night after the saying of adieu, the guy was like, now you are my wife. I'm going to tell you who I am, and I'm going to show you who I am. That was the beginning of the experience. And it was a violent one. It was a very destructive one. It was what, if not for the grace of God, I would have been in a mental home now. But in all this, I'm here. I died many times, but he brought me back many times. I'm not blaming anybody, but what I'm trying to say is that before you get yourself entangled, you need to actually sit down and find out if your value and the man's value, if they correspond. I'm going to go a little bit biblical now. The Bible says in Genesis chapter 1, it says, I am going to make a man a helpmate suitable. Now, before you go in, if you're a man, find out if this woman is suitable for you. And if you're a woman, find out if this man is suitable for you. Can he help you get to your purpose? Can your wife help you get to your purpose? Okay. And I did not find that out. I'm going to be sincere. And another reason why was because, let me just say this, when the enemy wants to destroy you, he cuts you off your prophets, or he cuts you off somebody that is supposed to be either your mentor, your coach, your helper, or whoever. And that was the situation. And I found myself in that mess. And don't forget, there are some marriages that are already divorced before the divorce. So mine was already crashed before the crashing. But I put a blind eye to it because When the society looks at you when you're over 28, 30, 30, 31, they look at you as you're a failure. From where I'm coming from, they look at you that, oh, she's not married at 28, she's not married at 30, she's not married at 31. There must be something wrong. She is cursed. There is something behind this. There is something behind this. There is something behind this, which actually forced me into rushing, not praying, not actually finding out if we are meant to be on that same journey together. Was there any time it was sweet? Perfectly well. I was the Cinderella then. He treated me like that. But there was an underlying purpose. There was an underlying thing, you know. So before you say I do, find out if there is something underlying. So many people around me, some pastors around me was like, why don't you get the police involved? Get this involved, because it was a life-threatening one. And but I didn't, because of religion, because of what I believe, my mindset. And yeah, that was just that. It was a very, very terrible experience. It was an experience that I would never wish any of my enemy to experience. It was horrible. It was terrible. But I thank God I've come back to life. If you knew me then, I was running mental. But my doctor then said, why would you kill yourself over somebody that doesn't love you? Why do you want to do this? And I lost so many children out of that violence. But
Oh.
I'm here now. I've got 2 boys now. So it's a thing of the past now. It's a thing of the past now. And it took me a long process. It took me a long journey before I could just bury all those things. But now I'm soaring high. This is just a nutshell. I'm not just going to go in and start saying who fought and who didn't fight. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I wasn't perfect. I'm not still perfect. But the thing is that some of us, we have a picture, or myself, I had a picture, but when you watch Nigerian movies, you see the man and everybody running, especially when you see Gospel and Amara on Facebook, flaunting their pictures, their love pictures on Facebook. You will think, oh, this is how marriage is. There is another side to it. Do you understand me? There is another side to it. I saw all those pictures and I was like, anyway, I grew up reading Mills and Boom. I don't know those people that read it. I read Mills and Boom. I read all those sweet, he carried me up, he kissed me, he did this. That was my picture of a perfect marriage. So my mind was already messed up before I went in there. But when I went in there, I saw reality. Unfortunately, it was a real Igbo man, traditional Igbo man that wants you to kneel down and serve them water to wash their hands. I'm going to stop here. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for being open to share with us. And you're saying this is your first time of sharing this. I know that as you share your experience, as our guests discuss some of these principles and things that happened, obviously, someone who is not married are learning, or some people who are not married are learning some principles they need to apply in making a choice of a life partner. And those who are already married can see things they can do to improve their relationship. I want to ask Joy Lifechangers, the 2 guests have talked about their experience. From what you know in terms of counseling people relating with those who are in marriage already, doing ministry, what do you think are the red flags that show that something is wrong in a marriage?
Well, hello everyone, and hello to Gospel and Amara. Thank you for having me on the program today. It's this is a very interesting subject matter. Marriage is life. It's not spirit, it's real life. So it's not something we do in the spirit. It's flesh and blood. So if it was in the spirit, you just fall out in the spirit, and everybody's gonna be okay. And one of the things about marriage is that it's the only thing on the planet that takes 2 people. It takes 2 people. It's not your decision. You can't wake up and say, I want my marriage to be successful, and it's going to work if there's no cooperation from the 2, because the Bible says that the 2 will become one. So for me personally, I would say that, going into marriage, I had this, innocent. I was very innocent, pure, and I wanted, I was a church girl, born in church and brought up in church. So I was told that if you do bad, bad will happen to you. And if you do good, good will happen to you. So being a good kid, nobody's going to want to just go do bad, and have project bad come to you or anything like that. No, that was not the case. So I was that girl who insisted, that I'm gonna keep my virginity until I get married, and not because I wasn't tempted, not because I didn't date nice, handsome guys or whatever. As a matter of fact, I had to even fight off someone who had received the prophecy from his mother that that girl is pure, her family is pure, but the only way you're going to get her is if you sleep with her. So, and this person, I was almost raped by this person for a good reason, as far as I was concerned, because I don't want to lose you. So, and this is the thing that my mother's prophet said, that you are pure and your family is pure. I'm like, are you kidding? So of course I ended that relationship. So I came that close. I was a beautiful girl. It wasn't that I wasn't, my experience was different from other young ladies. For me, it was a question of, can I distribute the men that are coming my way? Because you got people who are saying they're not getting relationships, while everybody in town keeps saying, God say you're my wife, God say you're my wife, God say you're my wife. You understand? So I was that kind of person that had tremendous attention, from men. But my dad was so good to me. My dad is still my hero as a man, as a standard, and even though he's in heaven right now. What am I trying to say there? So I never dated a married man. I had a ton of them who offered me things, money, business, cars, whatever, but it was a principle of that Sunday school girl. They said, if you don't do bad, bad will not come to you. If you do good, good will come to you. So when you go into marriage like that, one of the things that you go into marriage with that entitlement mentality to say, well, yes, I'm all free and clear. Like, oh my God, look, I already did everything, all the steps that I need to do to take care of marriage. I already done that. And marriage doesn't work like that. I just wanted to say that, to say that, look, marriage doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter, a prostitute on the road today can be a happily married woman, just to let you know. You can have had, 27 abortions and you still be happily married, if you get certain things right. So it's not, because marriage is not about you only, it's about who you are going to be with. The greatest important thing about marriage is who you marry at the end of the day. So when you get into marriage like that, you don't ever expect that, okay, awesome me is going to be cheated upon, or awesome me is going to be like ignored at any point in time. Like, oh, you're going to kiss the ground I'm walking on for the rest of my life. That's what you come off with, that expectation. And that's wrong expectation. That's wrong expectation. I just want to say that, because when life is a fight, when you go into battle with the wrong expectation, the shock of it is enough to kill some people. The reason why some people are never going to be able to rise from their marital challenges is because of the wrong expectation. So you're not combatant going into it knowing that life is a fight, whichever way. So when things happen, it takes you unaware. So we need to prepare people who are going into marriage better than those marriage counseling classes that are totally obsolete as far as I'm concerned. Now, what are the red flags in a marriage? I just wanted to say that as a backdrop. For me, the red flags in the marriage is when there's total disconnect. When there's total disconnect is there's no filial, there's no agape, there's no eros. There's no filial means that the friendship, love, it's disappeared. You can't stand each other. There's irritability. You cannot even have communication. You can't even have friendly conversation, because you see, there are certain times that eros comes and goes. Eros is your body is calling my body, and my body is calling your body type of love. And of course, that's very vital marital in marriage, for us to have sex constantly, because that's what people who are married are supposed to be doing, but we live in a society now where unmarried people are having more sex than married people, and it seemed to be normal. So when eros goes away, there's no longer sex, there's no longer that attraction. And if there's filial, if you guys are friends, you can weather the storm. But when there's no eros, and then there's no filial, there's no connection, you're not having sex and you're in the marriage. And then when there's no agape, it's a hopeless situation. Because even if we say, I can't stand you because, like maybe Dr. Bethel, there's trust has been betrayed. It takes time to build trust back. So agape can forgive, the love of God can forgive and say, you know what, let's see whether this comes back again. But if agape goes away, eros goes away, filial goes away. So no sex, no friendship, no forgiveness. When there's a total disconnect, that's it. And you can have two people who are living in the house who, when a man is dressing up and shaving and, kitting up and looking nice and, he's not doing it for you as a woman, he's doing it for another person. Or when a woman is dressing up and, when she's at home with you, she doesn't take time to package herself. But anytime she's going out, she's like all decked up and she's on her way to be happy. Those are all the signs and the red flags of a marriage. So for me, I'm going to say total disconnect. When there's total disconnect, and the one that I cannot stand, the one that is like the end, where you're at the end of the line, is that irritability. When you're irritable, when you're irritable, whether the woman is irritable, it's like, even when you're talking, I can't look at you, I cannot, like, you irritate me, you annoy me, and if the man is at that point, that's, you can be choked to death in your sleep at that point, because both of you are tired of each other and you're at that danger point. So that's the red flag for me in a marriage.
Wow. You've said so many things within a few minutes. And I think that could even make up a book, The Red Flags in the Marriage. When you were talking, I was just thinking, is it when those red flags are there, maybe I'll ask Dr. Bethel, is it as a result of lack of commitment on the part of either of them or both of them, or is it a problem of competence? Because I think within the Christian community, we emphasize character, we emphasize commitment. They tell you, stay there, even if you're dying, you have to be committed to your spouse until death do you part. But then you discover that a lot of Christians are not competent. They don't have relationship skills. Now, when those red flags pop up, is it because of competence or commitment, character as well, or all of them?
Well, I believe that every relationship is unique in its way, just like every person is unique in its way. There's no, one size fit it all, maybe because of our competence on one side, okay, every other married that is incompetent would fail. No, you have to look at it from the standpoint of, particularly from the society where we all came from, especially Christians. Most of us are not prepared for marriage. Most of us are not prepared for relationship. And that is why, discussion like this is very, very, very important. Because I remember back in the day, in the fellowship, they would never encourage you to have a relationship with a sister. I remember back in the day, then for me, to be an ESCO, they will tell you if you're an ESCO, you're not supposed to have a relationship. So what does that do to you? You bottle up emotions, even when you have a sister that you're feeling that you love and who that loves you. You can't express it because, I don't want to break the rule of the church or the fellowship. And that is how some of us actually miss our spouses. Let me be frank. That's how we miss our spouses. Ended up with some people else. And then when I listened to Joy talk about some of the red flags, and she mentioned the issue of love and trust. For me, I could say that trust is the foundation where love stands on. If there's no trust, there'll be no love. Love cannot stand on nothing else. It's easier to love somebody than to trust somebody. Have you ever wondered why God asked us or commanded us to love one another, but did not command us to trust one another? Because you can actually love people without trusting them. You can love your spouse, you can love your neighbor, you can love your coworkers, but you cannot trust him. So when trust erodes in a marriage, love cannot stand. Because if you're in a relationship where you can't trust your spouse cannot trust you, it's going to affect the love that actually brought the two of you together. So these are issues that I feel that once you start experiencing within you that whatever thing she's telling you or whatever thing he's telling you, you doubt it, you don't believe it, you suspect it, all these things are going to affect love, because it was love that brought the two of you together. But that love that brought the two of you together stands on something. Love is not enough for marriage to survive. That's the whole point. It's not enough for marriage to survive. So she mentioned about this issue of irritability, which is so true. The moment you start feeling so comfortable and more secure when you are outside or in the presence of someone else than in the presence of your spouse, that's a big old red flag right there. I'm talking about from my experience. I remember I'll be driving back home from work. I'm tired. All I need is to just get back home, sleep, and then I'm approaching the street. And it occurred to me, oh gosh, she's not gonna allow me rest. What does that tell you? There's a problem in the marriage. Now you find comfort outside. Once you're outside, you are happy, you're glad, you're excited, and then you coming back to the house, you become your old self. So I don't think it's a competence issue. I think it's more of, when you're single, intentionally dating, intentionally knowing who you want to marry. Like Pastor Amara mentioned, knowing your principle, because we are from different homes, raised differently, and you're trying to come together. And over time, before you became an adult, you formed your principle. Maybe your Christian sense of Christian principle through your family values and stuff like that. The other person may have a different principle. If they don't align, you guys are going to bring this into the marriage, because what the marriage does is to reveal the two of you more to each other. And what are you going to show? You're showing that you're heading to A, he's heading to B, and that is where this whole trust issue will come. Even though you claim you love each other, I heard when Pastor Amara was talking about how she was treated as Cinderella, how she was loved, she was, but those things were not enough to sustain marriage. Because at some point she started seeing stuff that she couldn't really, relate to her own principle. So it's very, very important, yes, as a couple who are still married, to know about this red flag, so that this is actually how you could know if you can actually work together, talk about this, communicate about it, because communication is very, very important in marriage. Because at times we see this red flag and we don't address it. Some of us will want to push it aside. Some of us will feel, okay, it's going to get better with time. But it's important that once you see a red flag, address it. Don't assume. At least you could tell the person, is this what you mean by what you said? And then allow the person to respond to you in a clear manner. But when you now begin to assume things, begin to suspect things without addressing them, without communicating them, the love start eroding. And before you know it, the red flag becomes something else, and there's nothing else, left in the marriage. So it's very, very important that we actually get to see this. And one other thing I want to add is, when you realize that your marriage is more of pleasing people, your friends, your church, the society, than pleasing the two of you, it's a big old red flag. You know you're dying inside, but every Sunday you suit up, she suits up, and then you guys walk to church, dance, clap, and do all the things together. Who are you deceiving? Because now you're trying to please the church. You're trying to please your friends. Maybe you're looking at Amara and Gospel's relationship is so beautiful, it's so authentic, and you want to be like them. So you want Amara and Gospel to look at your own marriage to have the same feeling. No. Address your marriage as your own unique relationship. Don't focus on other people's relationship. So, because if you put so much energy to please people instead of pleasing your spouse, I think it is a big red flag there. Yeah.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Bethel, for the point you raised. I think you looked at it from two perspectives now. Mm-hmm. You talked about the problem and the potential solution to it, which is to communicate. Couples need to have one-to-one conversation when those red flags are popping up. We want to ask Pastor Amara, do you want to add anything to what he has said?
In terms of red flags?
Yeah, in terms of red flags. Are there things you think he missed out?
I want to agree to whatever Dr. Bain and Joyful Life has said. They are absolutely on point. You know, I still want to add to this commitment. Commitment is one thing that if it's lacking in a relationship, even before you go in, before you say I do, if the man or the woman is not committed, not committed to your dreams, I think it's a red flag that this is a no-go area. And when two of you are not speaking the same language, when two of you are not speaking the same language, it's a no-go area. And if it's someone that makes you feel lower than himself, or a lady that makes you feel lower than herself, somebody that makes you feel that they are doing you a favor. A lot of people go through this. They still know that this guy, with so many cases I'm treating, you ask them, how do you feel with this guy? And they say to you, he really makes me feel like a nobody. He makes me feel like he's doing me a favor. And I'm like, then what are you doing there? It's not easy to cut off the relationship. I know this. Oh, I've put in a lot of money. But when somebody makes you feel less than themselves, is a red flag. When somebody wants you to compromise a lot of things for their own cause, it is a red flag for me. And when the person is not empathetic, when the person doesn't even feel your pain, doesn't know how you feel, doesn't know what you want, doesn't really understand you, when the person cannot read your facial expression, girl, what are you going into that marriage to do? Boy, what are you going in there to do? Do you just want to go and answer Mr. somebody or Mrs. somebody just for answering the name? So for me, when there is lack of commitment to the purpose, to your goal as a man, now a woman that is in the ministry or a man that is in ministry, if the so-called partner or the woman you want to marry to is not committed to whatever course you're doing at the moment, is a red flag. There's no point of you going into that relationship. So this is for me to add to what Doctor is saying and to Joy Life Giver is saying. Commitment is very important. Understanding is very, very important. So when it is not there, it's a red flag for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you want to ask?
Yes, I just want to thank you. I can see that she's actually multitasking there.
Yes.
And in spite of it, she's able to, firm up, give her points all clear. Thank you so much, Pastor Amara. Now, I just want to move on to Joy Lifechangers. We have a question on the chat. Because someone is saying, what about those who avoid those red flags? They don't want to discuss it. What happens then? How do you deal with irritability? So I don't know if you would want to answer that question, please.
I want to say that I want to be sure that everyone understands the question so that we can answer from the right perspective. The question is, red flags inside
In marriage.
In marriage, yes.
not before marriage. You understand?
Marriage.
You
Yes.
understand? So we're talking about red flags in the marriage because red flags before if you are not married, clap for yourself. You are in luck. You should get all the help that you need, and if you need 10 confirmation, get 10 confirmation. Because one of the things that people who are not married is just like Amara said, you get up at that point where you are under pressure. You feel okay, all my friends are getting married, so well, you ask some people, so do you love this guy? No, but he's the only stable one that is coming. He's the only one that is serious. He's the only one that is serious. Do you know his mission? So if you are not married, you're in luck, and it's better for you to figure out exactly what you need to do and check all the steps. Don't be in a hurry to say, well, I know what I feel, I know what I'm hearing, I know what, because you're afraid that somebody may say no to your decision, and not give you confirmation. So, however, the red flags in this context is really red flags inside the marriage. So now coming to the issue of irritability, saying you said the question is that what if the person is not trying to fix it? How do you deal with that irritability in the marriage? Yeah. So of course, when you're at the point of irritability, like I said, there's total disconnect already, and both of you can't really stand each other. So at that point, there's no kindness, there's no affection. You understand? There's no emotion. When irritability comes in, every good thing has jumped out the door. So at that point, what you need is intervention. You understand? Intervention, because somebody who cannot stand you, somebody who cannot even communicate with you, how are they going to tell you what is in their heart? They're not going to talk to you. You understand? Because they can't stand the mere sight of you. They want to strangle you, or they think they just don't want to even see you or look at you. And we don't know what every relationship has different reasons for getting to that point. So I definitely at that point recommend intervention. In counseling, what we do is not to really discover the problem. The problems already exist. What we do in counseling is kind of like amplifying an interpretation of that person, because some people don't speak the same language. They don't understand each other, and they're already frustrated. So a counselor brings kind of like calm to the situation, listens to you, because now you're at the point where you cannot talk to this person, so then you are talking to a counselor, because if you are not, I believe in outlets. And I think we might talk about it later. I believe in outlets. That's the only reason why you're going to stay sane. That's the only reason why you're not going to do something stupid. You must have an outlet where you are talking. You must talk to somebody. You must talk to somebody, because when you talk to somebody, they help you see different perspective. When I counsel, there are certain women I put, like that are married, that I put under commandment. Like, whenever you are angry with your husband, you must talk to me first, because they have temper issues. You understand? And if they just explode with that temper, they always destroy what has already been built to that level. So every time they destroy what has been built, they have to start again. Because after you just explode with anger, you now realize that you were not right. Maybe you misinterpreted the situation. And by the time that person talks to someone, and the counselor, comes in and says, this is exactly what happened, then you feel stupid. So at the end of the day, even when you are angry, it's good to still communicate. So if you're frustrated, talk to someone, pour out that frustration, and always move with perspective and understanding. I don't believe in talking to somebody who's not in the mood to listen, because I'm not talking just because I want to talk. I want to talk to get understanding, and I'm solution oriented. When you have a problem, you really want it solved.
True.
You are not trying to say you are wrong, I'm right. I'm right, you are wrong. You understand? If that's the perspective, you're not going to move anywhere. You just want to know the problem and what the possible solution is. So if in the case of that serious irritability, you have to bring in somebody that has the respect of both people involved, that can bring calm to the situation and actually get the other party to talk and say what is the problem. And if there is need for mediation and interpretation from either perspective, if it's done, that if there's a problem, if a solution can be achieved, then awesome. But if there's a solution cannot be achieved, then the counselor will know exactly what to do. So when you're at the highest point of irritability, it's not in your hands again, because you have lost all your leverage, all your favor, all everything that was working for you, you lost it. So you need to bring someone that can bring calm and understanding to the situation.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. I think one of the things I took away from what all that you said is being solution oriented. Because when people go into having a conversation or trying to talk about the issue, they are going with blame game, and rather than trying to say, look, how can we navigate out of this particular situation we find ourselves? Yeah. So what's the solution? Rather than rehearsing the problem, what you did, what I did, is about navigating out of it.
Yeah, for me, I took a point from what she said, which is getting help.
Yeah,
you need intervention. And some of us have been conditioned to think that whatever happens in our marriage should die within the marriage. But we have realized that sometimes people die in silence when they could have sought for help, and the help would have saved the marriage until it became late. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, for sharing. Yes. Now we have another question. I think that's the whole essence of this. We had our questions we planned out, but then the audience have also put up some questions. Now this question is for you, Dr. Bettels. He says, how did you handle deceit? So it's a very direct question. And this person is sharing, saying she came home from the UK, and right at the airport in Lagos, she was told that her ex got married to her choir director's daughter in the same church we got married. So in the same church they got married was the same church where her ex got married to the choir director, and then she slumped. Oh. So please, what's your take?
Like I said, everything boils down to what happened prior to the marriage. I cannot overemphasize the importance of getting to know who you're married to. Some of us got married to strangers. Some of us just got married. We probably got to know the person less than 6 months, 1 year, and we even though, you can actually get to stay with somebody for 2-3 years and still don't know the person. But at least if you're asking the right questions that you're supposed to ask, discussing the right things that you're supposed to discuss, all these things will unravel. I told somebody that at times when you're with somebody, just keep quiet and allow them to talk. That sooner or later, they will tell you everything about them without you even asking. Mm-hmm. But most of us go into relationship with marriage or wedding in sight. Mm-hmm. So instead of asking questions, we are kind of visualizing how the marriage is going to be, how beautiful you're talking about, how many children. Those are not important questions that you're supposed to be dealing with. So that's what happens, that you don't see some of these deceits. I didn't see it in my own until I got into it. Like I remember I said, 4 years into the marriage. I was 4 years into the marriage. So the first 2 years was like, okay, I'm busy trying to pursue, career and all that. And then when I felt I have gotten what I wanted as far career-wise, that was when I said, okay, let's now start making, family. Mm-hmm. So in the process, we now realize that, okay, something is not adding up. I was the one that decided to say, okay, let's seek, medical consultation. I went first. I came back with my result. And okay, my doctor actually said, okay, if she goes and nothing is wrong, then everything is fine. But I realized that every now and then she'll come up with an excuse for not going. At a point, she was like, let's believe God. Let's just believe God. God will. I said, of course we believe in God, but I also believe in medical science. So it took another year for us to end up in a doctor's office. And that was when I discovered that long before we even got married, she knew she had surgery, something happened and she knew that was not going to be, they told her. So for me, it was a big deceit and I found out. I was broken. I was so broken. I remember that day when I got back home, I didn't even know how the world was all about. But after a while, yes, I came out through it, not back through it. The same thing applies to whatever thing that we are doing in a marriage or what. It's so important that we communicate, we talk to people, because somehow people can deceive you forever. At some point, it's gonna come out if you ask the right questions, if you kind of try to communicate how you feel. Like Joy Changer was talking about this irritability issue. Irritability issue actually comes when the marriage is almost collapsing. That's when this irritability, once irritability shows up, it kind of tells you that he doesn't even want you. At that point, he does not want you, because you come to a point where you're even trying to salvage the marriage. Let's go seek counseling. Bible says, can two walk without agreement? You would want to seek counseling. And what happens if he says, I don't want counseling? It tells you he has already moved on. He probably have found someone else. So he's not interested in trying to fix nothing. As a matter of fact, I know a couple who are in that situation right now. Both of them are my friends. And it kind of bothers me, because I suggested, why don't you go for, the lady wants to go, is ready to do counseling, but the dude doesn't want to do counseling. I called him, I said, you're not helping issue. That if your wife wants to take this thing, seek intervention for your marriage, at least I said, why don't you just commit to it? At least go first. He said he's not going. And I had to ask him, I said, are you seeing someone else? And now it's obvious he's seeing someone else. So at times, there are certain things that even counseling cannot help, especially if one of the parties is interested in it and the other party is not interested in it. So the issue of deceit is just that you have to live, you have to face, when it comes, it will hit you like a thunderbolt. Yeah, just like the person said, she slumped and all that. I'm glad she's not slumping wherever she is right now, because if she's here today, that means she has snapped out of it. Because that's exactly what happens, because the deceit happens and then boom, you now realize, oh, I've been deceived. You now have to walk your way through it and then fix the reality, especially if he had gotten married, like you said, he has gotten married, moved on with his life. I don't see a reason why someone cannot enjoy himself or herself, particularly when the other party has moved on. Just have to look at yourself in the mirror. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy. Yeah. But that is why grace is there. It wasn't easy for me, but I tapped into the grace. And today, when I look back, I actually look back with gratitude, not with regret. So whoever deceived you, it's his loss. So all you need to do is face your new life, learn the lesson. Going forward, don't allow nobody to deceive you again.
Wow, that's really, really brilliant. Please, for those who are not married, you have opportunity not to allow anyone deceive you. Yes. Please, yes. Take your time, like Joy Lifechangers said, take your time. Do whatever counseling you need now. Consult whoever you need to consult and be sure you're getting it right so that you don't live with regret. I think someone also asked a question in terms of intervention. I think I'll put it across to our panelists. Anyone who wants to answer can go for it. What if the third party is not someone who makes things easier? As in the third party has made it worse. What do you do?
That's like, that's that's like the order of the day, really. That's the order of the day, really. And I'm gonna stick it up to pastors at this point. When you say who is the person that don't make it easy, that's someone most of the time, 80% of the time is the pastors. Pastors are so unrealistic sometimes, and they are so out of touch with reality. And some of them also fall short of marriage. Some of them, they don't have a healthy marriage, and so they cannot give you what they don't have. And some of them keep sweeping their own issues under the bed. When you have mommy and daddy who don't hold hands, when you have mommy and daddy who don't hug, when you have mommy and daddy who don't even have a chemistry, how are you going to expect that mommy and daddy can solve your problem of saying, my husband don't like touching me, don't like holding me? You understand? Mommy and daddy going to go mommy and daddy on you and going to say, sister, you need to be patient. Kneel down. Let us pray. Let us do 7 days fasting. I will anoint you people with oil. I will give you an anointing oil. You will anoint your bedroom, and we pray, and the devil is a liar. We rebuke the devil. You understand? There's something I always talk about in marriage settings. I say, don't be before somebody who say, God knows I love my wife. I said, God is in heaven. Your wife is with you. How come God that is in heaven is aware that you love your wife, and your wife that lives with you is not aware? So something is wrong. God said, okay, yes, God is there, but convince the person that is here physically with you. So the unrealistic nature, especially of the church, you go, some women have complained, you complain to the pastor say, you are wrong, woman, wife must submit, kneel down and apologize to your husband. And they go and they cry. They don't obey the pastor. They kneel down and apologize for what they were wrong. So pastor just literally threw me under the bus and said, kneel down and apologize to your husband, because you should be submissive. And so the problems are not getting solved. So what I would say is, look, I had to say that because we keep appealing to pastors. Can you please be more, like I said at the beginning, I said marriage is not spirit, it's flesh. It happens in real life. We don't get married in the spirit. We are married in real life. So when there are real life issues, we need examples, we need solutions we can relate to, and not to take anything from the power of prayer. I believe in that because God is the author of marriage. So you have to pray to God. I was actually talking to somebody yesterday when they were saying something about third party, all this thing about third party. I said that's really crap, because anybody that tells you no third party in a marriage, that person is joking. But does that person believe that God should be involved in marriage? They say yes. I say, is God not a third party? Is God not a third party? So if God is the third party, does God show up physically? No, God uses people. God has ambassadors, God has agents, God has representatives. So when we say an agent of God, is mean that person believes in marriage. That person understands the power of marriage. That person understands the purpose of marriage. That's the person you need to be talking to. So I would say to the person, with counseling, we always say, let both parties be comfortable with who the person is. You understand? Let both parties, let it not be, okay, come and follow me to my mama, or you come and say, follow me to my papa, and all of that. No, let it be somebody that both of you know is neutral, both of you know is knowledgeable, both of you know, like we say, we cannot go to people who don't have the solution to our problem. When you're looking for a solution, you don't go to a problem. So even if the person is your pastor, if the pastor is the problem, don't go to your pastor. If the pastor does not have solution to your problem, look for someone who has solution to your problem. And that's one of the things I like about this couple who is doing this, because you're being transparent, you're talking about health, so you can contact them and they are not biased. When we say agent of God, when I'm counseling in marriage, what I say is that, look, I'm not on the husband's side, I'm not on the wife's side, I'm on the Lord's side. I say, as far as this today is concerned, I'm not on your side, husband. I'm not your side, wife. I'm on the Lord's side. Right now in this marriage, I agree with what God say. I am God's agent here. So don't think I'm here to support the wife or I'm here to support the husband. So God's word is the final authority because he created marriage. So we make reference to him. And if husband is falling short of the standard of the author of marriage, we need to put it to him. Oga, you are failing here. You are wrong, sir, here. If it is the woman, you understand, you say, this was wrong right here. You are falling short, of the standard of the author of marriage. So the both parties have to be in compliance to the principles and the standard of the author of marriage. So I did not author marriage. You understand, God authored marriage. And if marriage is going to work, we must check his manual. And when any party falls short of what is in the standard and in the manual of the author of marriage, we refer to it in that moment. But it helps if we can make examples of ourselves to say, you see, I had this too, and this was what I had to do. This was when I had to kill my flesh. And this was when I had to repent. This was when I had to, at the end of the day, that's what the human influence brings to the table. So let it be somebody who has solution that you respect and that the other party respect.
Wow, these are salient points that you have actually made. I mean, I don't know if the other panelists will want to say something about this. Anybody?
Yeah, I want to add something to what Joy said. Our society, when I mean our society now, I'm referring to Nigeria, is a unique one. There are certain things that we live in the UK, US, or developed countries, we get access to that they do not. Back in Nigeria, how many professional marriage counselors do we know? And that is why most pastors have taken over the work of professional counselors. Unfortunately, some pastors back home, they do not know where the job starts and where it ends. And even some members of the church, they see the pastor as all in all, like every solution, they got it. In Nigeria, when somebody has even physical health issue, instead of going to a doctor, the first person they go to is a pastor. Pastors will prescribe 3 days praying and fasting, prescribe 1 week praying and fasting, anointing oil and all that. The only time they go to see a medical doctor is when is, actually becoming a crisis. So the same way with marriage issue, some of these members, they see pastors as, they know it all, they have it all. So I blame the pastors and I blame the members as well. So it's the responsibility of the people who are in the marriage that are having this issue to make an effort to find a professional help, not a pastor. Because usually, like Joe was saying, most times these pastors, they complicate a lot of things. And at times, pastors will always take the side of the man, period. Because since he feels he rules his house, so he wants the man to apply the same thing, and then they want to subjugate the woman to, like, you have to, submit to him, you have to do this, you have to do that. So, and of course, the society itself blames women for everything that ends up in any problem in marriage.
Wow, thank you.
So the thing is that it's not something that, would I say, the government should do? No. Even when you have professional marriage counselors, do you know some Christians would rather go to see a pastor than see a professional counselor because they're going to judge the professional counselor? Imagine if a Muslim is a professional marriage counselor, or somebody who's not your ethnic tribal man is not a professional, is a professional counselor. You don't want to see him. And of course, if, just like she was talking about third party, they were like, oh, I'll just go to tell a stranger about my problem. I'm more comfortable discussing with my pastor. Without knowing that when you see this professional counselor as a professional that he or she is, That's when you can be vulnerable to him without really knowing who she is, because as a professional, everything that you tell him or her will be kept secret or kept professionally. So I think we have to desensitize as well as sensitize ourselves and kind of pull away from rushing to pastors when we have problems. There are issues that you can discuss with your pastor, spiritual issue you can discuss with your pastor. But when it comes to marriage, I don't think that every pastor is equipped to handle marital issues. Just like because the pastors are having wonderful marriage does not mean that they are able to counsel you your own, because your own marriage is unique from theirs. So I really feel for our people down in Nigeria or in Africa where they do not have access to all this, is because here in the US, you just can Google professional marriage counseling, talk with the consultant over the phone or read the bio and whatever, and boom, make an appointment. You show up, they tell you, okay, this is how I want you guys to do it. And you guys will do whatever, how many weeks counseling session you're going to do it. And then if they evaluate it at the end of the day. But they don't have it. So where those kind of things are lacking, the question becomes, what do they do? You now realize that the couple only have each other, the families, friends, and then pastors. So I think the question should be, who do we talk to besides a professional counselor, since we don't have one? Because I'm sure that anybody who lives in Nigeria today have never met one single marriage counselor.
Can I just
go ahead?
Yes, go on.
Can I just add to that? Myself, I'm a pastor. I was married to a pastor as well, and I would just tell you this, that the Bible says, if the foundation be faulty, what can the righteous do? It's just like you building your house on a faulty foundation. That house is bound to crash. It's just gonna take time. Now, when it comes to the counseling part of it, there are some pastors that are not really professionally equipped to talk about marriage. Now, this is because of one, religious factor or religious mindsets; two, traditional mindsets; three, it could be a cultural mindset. So this could be one of the reasons why some pastors are not really able to solve some issues. Two, we talked about Nigerian sector, not just Nigerian, African sector, and there are some here in UK. Let me just say this: I wasn't able to get an intervention because one, the man that was involved was a very proud person, and when you are dealing with a proud man, they would never agree for an intervention. They would never agree to go for an intervention. They would never agree to go for someone or any professional counselor. They would not. They wouldn't want to be that vulnerable. And, people that know what they are doing, people that actually, in fact, most perpetrators, they wouldn't want to go because they know they'll be discovered. So they wouldn't want to go out for people to know this is what they're doing, especially in the Christendom. Now, coming down to Nigeria, the foundation I'm talking about, we have been brainwashed that God does everything, practically everything for us. We don't have any role to play. Once you are born again, God is going to do everything for you. Now, some of us, we have some of these men or this woman, they saw their father behave in a certain way. And they would definitely behave in that certain way. I said this last time when I was having my talk show. I said that whatever we do is what our children are going to do. My children cannot be different from me. They said a fruit cannot fall far away from the tree. Now, the pastors, you don't blame them. Then the members or the society, you don't blame them because they grew up, they have this mindset that pastors are demigod. And pastors, we try to make them believe that they have no power to solve any problem themselves. They have to come through us. We have become the mediator. We've stripped Jesus off his role. Now we've taken the position of Jesus, some pastors. Now, another point is that some people cannot afford to pay these professionals. They can't afford to pay it. When they look at how much it's going to cost them, look at how much a bag of rice is in Nigeria, which is 35,000 naira, far more higher than the minimum wage. Sweetie, nobody's going to waste that 35 that money to pay a counselor that's just going to talk. And don't forget, counseling in this part of the world we are in, they don't really give you suggestions. They just sit down and ask you to talk. Because I went through that counseling as well when I was going nuts, when I was hitting the depression button. I had to, in fact, I went through the church aspect of it, but because of the pastors that were involved in my case, they are all learned. They understand that if anything happens to me, they're all going to jail. So they told me to go seek for a professional help. I went to the doctors and they referred me to a counselor, which gave me, it was a 10-week course. You sit down and be talking, and it's just like detoxing. This one is a personal one. This is a different one. But I know when it comes to marriage counseling, boy, nobody will want to pay that money in Nigeria to go for it. And the men or women that have that money in Nigeria to go for it, ego will not let them go. The man wouldn't want to sit down. Okay. And most of these counselors, we have a lot of women in that field. Men don't really go into it. It's just few pastors or few men that go into it. So a man wouldn't want to sit down in front of a woman and be dishing out the problems that is happening in his family. Why would I tell this woman? Why would I speak to this woman? So it is a societal factor. And this mindset, we need to detox it. We need to just detox it and call out for help whenever we need that. Money or no money, just call out for help. Let somebody intervene, or else this is the reason why we have a lot of killings. In Nigeria, there are a lot of killings. Men kill their wives, women kill their husbands because there is no intervention. Nobody. And they must have been speaking to their pastors, just like Joy said. They are giving you pills, which is the word of God. Take John 3:16 in the morning. Take Matthew 10 verse 10 in the afternoon. Take Revelation 2 in the evening. They give it to you as a pill. Or you drink the word of blood of Jesus. Start praying. Die by fire. Oh my goodness. Everything is not about the devil. Everything is not about it. Sometimes it is our mindset that is playing up. It's acting up in our marriages. So if we can go for an intervention, you must go for an intervention. Somebody that can help you detox your mind. Someone that can help both of you find a common ground where you can live like human beings at home. And I still say this irritable. I talked about the red flags. I had to say this, the red flag before you say I do, because I saw the red flag before I went in. But because this pastor thing of a thing, the prophets, they were saying all the things they thought they were saying, and they beclouded my mind. I wasn't hearing God anymore. So I was feeling that this man can speak better than God. And just to let you know, I just met him in 3 months, and the guy just wanted everything to quick. And Jesus is Lord. Hey, God has answered my prayer, which is what we are seeing in our society. Even today, some people are praying online for people, telling them you're going to meet your husband in October. You will marry the man in October. Oh, get away here. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to go. I just spoke my life. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Go ahead. Fire on.
Yes. Why would somebody come to you and tell you, I'm praying for you? We speak different languages, and we'll tell them you're going to bring out your nightwear and pray. Oh, sweetie, excuse me. Or bring out your wedding gown. Go and buy the wedding gown. You will pray on it. Before the month of October is ended, you will see your husband. Babes, I saw the man within 3 months. I married him, and within 4 years, the thing crashed. In fact, the marriage ended before we married. The marriage ended when we've already done our tradition or whatever. I told my mom, I'm not going to marry again. My mother said, hey, because my father has a name. My father has a name. Because he has a name. My mom said, oh, how would they say? Oh, these. And from the church we are from, it is a taboo to divorce. It's a taboo to have issues. Okay, I think I'm running faster than you. Sorry. So thank you. We need to seek for intervention. We need to, and sorry, don't seek it from within your family members. Do not. If you seek it from your in-laws, that would definitely side the husband or definitely side the wife. I had that kind of issues when we were still in the marriage. The brothers and sisters were telling me this is the way our dad did to our mom. Now their mother is crippled because of the way the dad was so violent to the mom. Do you know that when the chips were down, everybody deserted? Nobody. In fact, they all supported their brother. Do you understand what I mean? So the best thing for you to do is to look for intervention outside your family, outside your wife's family, outside your husband's family, outside anybody that is so needed to you. Because if you go to your husband's closest friend, he may actually favor one person. So you need to go to somebody that is neutral, just like Joy said, a neutral person, and still pray that the Lord will speak into the situation through that neutral person. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, so many things have been said. Wow. Thank you so much. I know some people are writing on the chat about not all pastors being like that. I think what our panelists are not saying don't speak to your pastors. If your pastors are experts in that area, if you think that they're credible and they're expert, just like Joy Lifechangers explained, fine, go ahead. But if they are not equipped, if they are not competent enough to manage it, there's nothing wrong with seeking help from a credible source. I think I should just say that, because somebody say, oh, there are some pastors that, no, we're not fighting the pastors. We're not saying that pastors cannot do it. If the pastor is equipped, go ahead. If it's not, seek help.
I also want to point out that if you actually need help and you look for the right people to intervene, you might have them for free. It's all about you having an open mind to approach the right people who will be happy to help. So
now this actually brings us to the next question. I think Pastor Amara sort of like chipped in a little bit, and then she decided to put a pause on it. And I want to direct this question first to Joy Lifechangers. We find out that, they say there's a popular quote in the Bible that God hates divorce. So the scriptures quotes that, and that Jesus says that in the beginning it was not so, but the hardness of man's heart has caused it to be. Now the question is, at what point will divorce be the best option in marriage? Because some people are in this situation. I mean, there are fantastic marriages out there, but at what point would divorce be an option?
Okay, well, what I want to say is, I have a quote that I always tell people. I say, and it brings a perfect picture to the picture. And anybody who's going to get married, especially if you're a child of God, if you're a Christian, if you're going to get married, you need to know that. And what is that? I said, God hates a divorce, yes. And that is true. God doesn't hate divorce because of divorce itself. God hates divorce because of what it does to his children. I'm a mother. I have a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old, and my youngest is 14, about to be 15. There's no way that I'm going to want something that's going to hurt my son or my daughter and just allow it. So I hate it for you. I hate it because I know what it does to you. If you see somebody eating something that's poisonous, you're going to be like, this is going to run your stomach. Don't eat it. I had it before, and I've seen what it has done to people. It's just like the virus now that we're talking about, the coronavirus. I'm sure we all hate coronavirus. Why do we hate coronavirus? Have we ever seen coronavirus? No, we don't know what it looks like, but we hate what it does to people. It kills people. It gets people intubated, and it gets people dead. So we don't want it. I don't know corona. I don't live with corona. I've not seen corona, but I don't want it for you because I've seen what it does to people. So that's the context of the hatred of God for divorce. Is what it does to you. So God does not hate the people that are divorced, or God just hates it. So don't even talk about it. No, God hates it because of what it does to you. And my quote is that God hates divorce and the devil hates marriage. God hates divorce. So I always put it in that context, that remember that if you're a Christian, if you're getting married, the fact that you decided to get married, the devil always set traps at very significant junctions of life for people. And marriage is one of those. Now, how do I know the devil hates marriage? The devil is propagating the gospel of the fact that marriage takes love out of relationship. So a lot of people are shacking up together, like, okay, that's the thing. So as long as we're together and we don't get married, we're going to maintain our love. And we have certain credible characters. When we say credible characters, people that have role model status in society who have modeled that. And so people are buying into that and saying, yes, marriage takes love out of relationships. So if you want to keep your love, just don't get married. So, but that is not the way that God intended it to be. The Bible says in the beginning, it was not so. So God wanted man and wife to move together to be married. But because the devil will always provide an alternate plan anywhere God has a plan, that's why the devil wants you to get it wrong in marriage to begin with. And if you don't succeed in finding that out and making sure you overcome that trap, and you get into the trap, then he's going to also come for that marriage. He's going to want you to get out of that marriage because he's all about discrediting anything that God wants and God desires and God has created. That's why he twisted the truth in the beginning. He told confused Eve. Are you sure that's what God said? He gave Eve a different interpretation of what God said. That's exactly what happens in marriage. So for me personally, it's important for you to know that the devil hates marriage. The devil hates marriage because of the power of agreement. When you see two people who are united in spirit and in purpose, they are using, the Bible says one will chase 1,000 and two will put to flight 10,000. So now gospel has on its own as an individual 1,000 voltage. Amara on her own has 1,000 voltage. And both of them hate the devil and they're on their missions. They're using 1,000 voltage. The devil knows if I allow Amara and gospel come together, two of them are going to create 10,000 voltage. And that kills me faster. That burns me faster. That consumes me faster. So what is my mission? Make sure that Amara and gospel are never united in spirit and in purpose. Because even if they wear the marriage ring as big as a belt, as big as the championship belt of a wrestler on their hands, as long as agreement is not the two of you sitting together looking cute right now, because we see people who look cute together who hate each other, So agreement is a spiritual thing. When you are united in spirit and in purpose, do you know what that does? That's like thunder and lightning in the spirit. You get things done, you move things, you stand in authority, you operate. That's why the devil doesn't want marriage. That's why the devil hates marriage, because of the voltage capacity that marriage produces to enhance and facilitate destiny.
That's true.
So if you're going to get married and you're a child of God, you got to know that marriage is born of the spirit, is God's idea. So the devil is going to try to make sure that mission is not accomplished. When you know that, you're better equipped, knowing that we can be under attack right here. When we are under attack, we need to know if this is a carnal problem so we can actually look for solution. The devil is attacking us because the devil doesn't want us to use our full capacity. So having said that, if you realize that God hates divorce and the devil hates marriage, it puts things in the proper perspective. And that's why I always propagate that. Now, however, Jesus says something. In the beginning, it was not so. Why does divorce happen? Because of the hardness of your heart. The hardness of your heart. When people are selfish. When people say, me, I remember that's why the devil got booted out of heaven. I will do this. I will. If it's not mine, it's not holding. When why do you get married? Don't get married then. Because when you get married, you are carrying somebody's destiny. You're carrying a whole human being and saying, come walk with me, come be one with me. You cannot deny that person is an entity on their own. and you cannot now destroy that person's life just so that your own can happen. So the hardness of our heart is what even keeps propagating divorce today. Now, when we say that, however, when should divorce? I have to say that so that you can understand that we're not here propagating divorce. No, I hate divorce too. I'm on the Lord's side, so I hate divorce. But I'm also fully aware to know, knowledgeable enough to know that the devil hates marriage. So the devil will come for your marriage, either before or after. He will come for your marriage. But when you know that, you will always be together in agreement. You will attack the devil with knowledge. And you will make your choices. If you are not married, you will make your choice knowing that the devil hates marriage. So I better not marry somebody who is the devil's cousin. So because I will be giving the devil direct access to me, I better marry someone who hates divorce too. Somebody who understands the power of marriage and the purpose of marriage too. That's the only way. When you are united in spirit and purpose, you are purpose partners, you are destiny partners. When you both understand your mission and the purpose of marriage, not just limited to physical enjoyment, which I 100% recommend and approve always, all the time. You understand? Because God is a God of love, joy, peace. He's a complete God. So having said that, I make it abundantly clear that we're not just telling you hop out of your marriage at the slightest provocation. That's not what we're saying here. In fact, if there's any thread of hope, hold on to it and make it work. But when do you leave marriage? When life is at stake, all protocols are suspended. That's one. When life is at stake, all protocols are what? Suspended. When you see somebody, I know, thank God we have a doctor in the house. When somebody is dying on the road and you want to save their life, you're going to give them all that pump in their chest and even kiss them. Permit me to use the word kiss because that's what it appears. You're putting in your mouth. You say, I'm giving mouth to mouth. You understand? That's a stranger. So in the world that we live in now is a world of consent. May I kiss you? May I hold you? May I hug you? So that you don't end up in court or with a lawsuit. But when life is at stake, all protocols are suspended. When your marriage is life-threatening, when it gets to that point, you don't think twice. You run for your life. That is it. So however your life is, if somebody is telling you, I'm going to kill you, is killing you, is strangling you anytime and then he's saying sorry later, one day you're going to wake up dead. So when life is at stake, when your life is at stake, run. And number two, I'm very very intentional with this. When you are being stabbed sexually, when you are being stabbed sexually, I have met women who are on the 5th anniversary of their not having sex with their husbands.
Wow.
So it happens. Some people 1 year, we've not done anything in 1 year. The last time, in fact, a woman one time showed me her child. He's 5 years old. That was the last time I had sex with my husband. So now it's okay because she was still married as at the point that she was talking to me. But it's unusual, right? To go 1 year without sex with your husband, 2 years without sex with your husband. I believe that marriage marriage is responsibility. Responsibility for what? You are emotionally responsible, for your partner. So the emotional satisfaction of your partner is you, and vice versa. So am I saying when you are stabbed sexually, end the marriage? No, there's a catch there. When you are stabbed sexually to the point of temptation, that's when I say walk out. Now, yes, and I'm very clear about this because I've seen what it has done to people. You've seen a situation where a woman is complaining, or if it's the man, which is rare, but if it's a man is complaining, it happens to men, So, and when whether it is because of fasting, or it is because of prayer, or it's because you are killing all the enemies in your village, whatever it is, and you are sexually starving your spouse to the point of temptation, what I tell people is that, look, don't commit two sins at the same time. You see, why I say at that point, make it clear to the spouse, whoever the party is, make it clear to them that, look, I've been complaining about this and you haven't attended to it, and I'm at the point of temptation. So I'm just going to leave this marriage. If your threat at that moment does not restore, honestly, just go. Because the two things that happen is, if you stay in the marriage and you commit adultery, you have sinned against your marriage and you have sinned against your body. You see the complication there? You understand? And even if that's your first adultery and you're caught in the marriage, you see, you have dishonored your marriage. That is, posterity will remember that it was you that got caught, it was you that committed adultery, and you are the bad person. And it has happened to a lot of people like that. That's why I tell women, I say, look, if it gets to that point where you are tempted to, that I can't take it anymore, you understand? I say, make sure you don't do it in the marriage. Make sure, am I endorsing sin? That's not what I'm saying. Mind you, you are asking me, when is it okay to leave marriage? And I'm saying, number one, when your life is at stake. Do you understand? When your life is at stake, all protocols are suspended. Number two, when you are sexually starved, because marriage is your license to have sex, you are sexually starved to the point of temptation, and you make it a mandate and it is still not honored. In that moment, don't do it. Don't, because it's Yoruba people say olewu, you understand? Igbo people will say it's alu. Do you understand? Because it will not be a stigma. You are committing two sins. Walk out of it and know that you walked out with a clear conscience, that you did not dishonor your marriage. Number three, when all hope is lost. When all hope is lost is all encompassing with trust-related issues, you understand, with interventions have been carried out. We have talked with the family, we have talked with counselors, we have talked, you understand, with others, we have seen, we try to repair what has been damaged, but there's nothing. When all hope is lost, then, like Dr. Bethel said, if he has moved on, if somebody appeared at the airport and heard that their husband got married to somebody else, tell me, that's the all hope is lost situation, because the guy has definitely made an irreversible move. So at that point, it is stupidity to say, I still claim my marriage in Jesus' name. No, you are dishonoring yourself at that point, because he has made a big deal out of whatever he has done. So that is the category that I put as when all hope is lost. When it's irreversible, then don't stick to a dead body. Yeah. Stay alive for something else. For your children, stay alive for something else that God has for you.
Wow. That is all encompassing. I think you've answered all the questions that has to do with when is it the best option to divorce. I think the Bible also says something about the sex angle. It says if there is sexual infidelity within the marriage, it is the ground for divorce. But then I want to ask, I think we are running out of time, so we need to keep it very brief as much as we can. I'm sure we can't answer all the questions. But I want to ask, why do some individuals endure their marriage even when they know it is not working and it is threatening their life, like you said? And then the second part to it is, how does divorce impact on one's life? So anyone is free to go, Dr. Bethel, Pastor Amara. Okay.
Yeah.
I think, okay, fine. Go on, Dr. Bethel.
Okay. Your question is, why do people endure marriage? I know that in the course of our discussion, we've talked about issues just like religion. Some of us from AG background or deep Pentecostal roots, there's this bombardment of scriptures. Oh, you once you say I do, you're committed to it for life, without really breaking it down, just like Joy Lifechanger was saying, there are certain things that could actually put your life at stake. And at that point, you still hold on to a dead marriage. So some people, just because of the religion that they have been bombarded with from their childhood, just believe the fact that, oh, I just have to remain in this marriage. And they endure whatever thing a man will beat his wife to stupor, and in the name of, I would stay because the Bible says so. No, there's nothing like the Bible says so. The person does not really have a better revelation of whatever Jesus Christ or Paul was, talked about in the Bible. Because you can die in the Bible, in the marriage, thinking that you're doing God a favor by staying in the marriage. And of course, some women stay in the marriage, and some men also, because of kids are involved. So they're able to tolerate everything, like, oh, I don't want to walk away from my boy, particularly in the culture where we live now in the US, where the women will kind of take over the children. So some men, because of those children that have close relationships with their kids, may endure the marriage, even if, it's killing them. They're like, I don't want another man to raise my son for me. I want to raise my son. And then they sacrifice their own pleasure for their children. So it's one of the reasons. And another reason why people stay there is because of financial situations. Yes. Some women may feel, if I leave, who's going to take care of me? Particularly if you're married to maybe a well-to-do husband, particularly down in Nigeria. Who's going to take care of me? Or, who's going to service my cars? All this while he bought me a car with a driver, blah, blah, blah. And in Nigeria, there's nothing like, okay, when marriage is ending, you have to divide the wealth equally now. Then in our society where we live, the men may not want to go because, as it's saying, it's cheaper to keep her than to lose her. Because you know very well that if you are actually the one making the money, that she's going to take half or more of your wealth, you're like, okay, it's cheaper to keep her. So let me just endure and keep my money. At that point, you're actually married to your money or your financial, background instead of marrying to the woman. So another thing is societal pressure, especially back in Nigeria for the women's folk. There's this pressure that they put on women that if ever their marriage ends in divorce, they don't respect them anymore. No matter how professional you are as a woman, you have a PhD holder, you're a medical doctor, you're a lawyer. Once your marriage ends, the society sees you as a failure. You're not regarded in a gathering where they want to mention people. Nobody will recognize you. And for you take a look at it and you're like, oh my God, you know what? I'm going to stick it out. I don't want to be, stigmatized in the society. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be talked about. And they stay in a very toxic marriage. And also some people are obsessed with the idea of being married. People just love the idea of getting married, not actually doing the work that will make you keep the marriage, alive. So that happens when somebody divorces. You could see somebody who has been in their 6th, 7th marriages. So if your first marriage ends, your second marriage ends, your third marriage ends, it's about time you sit yourself down and ask what is going on. But again, some people are just, they are afraid to be by themselves. There's this fear of being alone. Fear of, oh my God, how am I going to make it all by myself? And, I just want to have somebody at night, who will wrap his hand or her hand around me. Oh, I can't really do it by myself. So they are just obsessed with the idea of constantly getting married all the time. And how does divorce, your next question, impact your life? Talking about from my experience, to a point, do you know, even as a Christian, there was a point I was so mad with God. When my marriage ended, I was so pissed, not just with my ex, I was more pissed with me and pissed with God because I could not believe, just like Joy was saying, that's the sense of entitlement. I couldn't believe that a good Christian man like me, somebody who has kept himself and had this wonderful image of marriage, I'm gonna do it, I couldn't believe that my marriage has come to an end. I couldn't believe the fact that with all the knowledge that I thought I had, the books, the seminars I attended, and I was so deceived. So I was so pissed with me. And then I transferred that anger to God also. I was pissed with God. I'm like, God, you saw this. You knew I served you. You couldn't come true for me. You didn't tell me this. You didn't reveal all this to me, you know? And from that point, I realized that my physical, mental, spiritual health were affected. I couldn't sleep at night. Psychologically, I was going, my career, I literally lost everything with my marriage. Like I went from 100 to 0, like in complete 0. I became homeless because, of course, here, once the police shows up, they'll throw you out. So I didn't know what to do. So I had regrets. I just realized, wasted years. Oh my God. I said, I just had this marriage for this long. It was just wasted. So in my head, I felt I had failed. I've never felt that way before. Everything that I've ever worked in my life, I always see myself succeeding. So that was the first time I was experiencing real failure, like real failure. And truly, I wanted to kill myself. It got to that point, I wanted to kill myself. I didn't just thought about it. I took a step. I went to the train station, and the train was coming, and I could hear a voice say to me, your life is useless. You're meaningless. There's nothing nobody, wants you. Nobody cares about you. Just end your life. And the train was coming, and all I could hear was my mom's cry. Like I died, and somebody told my mom he killed himself, and how devastated my mom was. And while I was standing there, the train came, stopped at that station. It was as if I was transfixed. And it was only when the train moved that I kind of realized, oh my God, I would have killed myself. So at that point, I think that was when I started thinking about making a return. Because honestly, divorce affected every aspect of my lives. My relationship with people, my relationship with church. My church saw me as an unbeliever because, a sister actually told me, you cannot marry again. If you marry again, you're sinning and you're going to go to hell. It's so crazy, but I thank God everything is okay.
I don't even know how to jump in, because as you were sharing your experience, I could feel the impact of what you went through. I don't know if any of our panelists wants to come in or jump in, because I know what you're saying reflects the experience of so many people out there. And I want you to understand that even after now, a lot of people will still watch this video. And I believe what you're sharing would give someone hope who is at the point of taking his or her life because of what the person has gone through. Any of our panelists wants to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to add something to that. I think Joy said everything. I'm just want to use myself as an example. There was a time in my marriage when my ex actually strangled me, and it took the grace of God. That was in 2013. That was just after, that was 2 years into it. Okay, 1 year into it, he strangled me. Apparently, he studied medicine and dropped out in Uniport. He told me that I can kill you now. Nobody will actually know that I killed you. And it was so full of threatening, but I wasn't able to step out because of the society. And secondly, I've got this thing attached to my name as a pastor and also a pastor's child, and everybody will look at you as a failure. So I understand that. But there was a time when God had to ask me to move. Now, I did not look at what people were saying. God asked me to move just to save my life, because it was becoming so much. It was becoming so, in fact, it was not just physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse. I had every kind of abuse. And the Lord asked me to step out. Now in United Kingdom, I'm meant to call the police for him, and I'm meant to like throw him out of the house. But as a church girl, I'm like, let me just forget him. So I can resonate to what you're saying, doctor. I left the home. I lost everything. In fact, he locked me out of the house, all my property, because I was the breadwinner, all the property and everything. I lost the church as well. He signed me off the church. He signed me off everything. This was my own property, not your own. It was everything about me. And that was it. So if your life is in danger, in fact, it got to a point my dad came and Assemblies of God, they just got involved. And it got to a point that I had to like say, I need my life now. And I had panels of bishops come to tell me, stay away for some time. But he didn't want that. He went ahead and married somebody else. So what I'm trying to say is that if your life is at stake, is in danger, run for your dear life. You can actually tell your story from the other side. And don't wait till you get to heaven and tell your story. I lost my properties. I lost everything. I was homeless for 3 years until I got my own home. And I'm going to say I was already divorced in the marriage before I got finally divorced. Now, the impact of the divorce for me, it started from the marriage. I was affected mentally at a point. In fact, I got depressed at a point. Once it's 2-3 a.m., I just come downstairs to start eating cold food. You practically see me talking to myself and eating cold food. And it affected everything around me. It affected my relationship with people. And as a pastor, I was being judged. One pastor practically called me to come and minister to his church. After ministry, he took the microphone and said, how could a woman of God minister so powerfully well with the prophetic unction still cannot hold her marriage? So it affected me emotionally, mentally, and every other aspect of me. It affected my work relationship as well. I felt like I failed in life. But I thank God for my dad. He is my best. He's my best. He's my spiritual father, my coach, my mentor. He kept on ringing it into my ears that you are not a failure, that you failed, that this is not a failure. You actually came back to life. Till tomorrow, he tells me that if 10 women went through what you went through, many of them would have died. Like I said before, I died and I rose again. The last one happened when I died, and my 2 little boys that died, that I buried, came back at the gate and said, Mommy, it's not your time to go. And it happened to the point the pastor came and said, who are you? You are so graced. And he actually said to my ex-husband, I saw you burying this woman, because they were trying to be known as big pastors in London. So the reason why so many people still stay back in marriage, because they have been made to understand that they would be complete with a man or a woman. You are complete with somebody. But I'm here to tell somebody, listen to me, that God has made you complete in him. You don't need no man. You don't need no woman to be complete. If you are broken before you get into the marriage, you'll be broken into pieces. You need to be complete before you get into the marriage. I was looking for affirmation. That was why I just met somebody. Within 3 months, I got married to him, because I felt that all the affirmations he was giving to me was real. I was looking for somebody to tell me that they love me. I was looking for somebody to wrap me around and play me like a Spanish guitar I don't want to go in there. So many people are looking for somebody to play them like a Spanish guitar. And when you get that one that will play you like a Spanish guitar, they will still give you something that will make you cry. So that was my own predicament. But now I have recovered. Like I said, it made a negative impact in my ministry, in my mental state, my relationship, because then I had some friends and some colleagues in the ministry. It was as if that you were a bit popular. But when that happened, there was a big disconnection. Everybody looked at you as a failure. And sometimes I said, what would a divorcee say to me? But I'm here to tell somebody this morning, while I was praying about this program today, the Lord woke me up at 4 a.m. and said, I've already written it on my Facebook page. If you can see it, I said, you are very important to me. that you are divorced or you're going through any challenge does not mean that I do not love you. I love the divorcees. I love them and I can use them. So if you are divorced and you feel that you have nothing to give to the society, sweetie, there is so much inside of you to give to the society. You are the right channel. You are the right material that God is in need of now to heal many people that are broken. There are people that are already divorced in their marriages, but they're just patching things up. They may be wearing uniform. I did wear uniform with my ex-husband. If on Facebook, if you see us there flying, you would think that you would think that we are just the best couple in town. We can actually cry this morning. I can cry this morning after the beatings as they go to church, lift up holy hands, play the keyboard, sing and preach and go up, go down, jump up and down. The Holy Spirit was just moving. But deep down inside of me, when I'm lifting up holy hands and crying, I was just crying, how did I get here? I thought I was smart enough. I thought I know it all. I thought I crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. How did I allow the devil mess me up? I wasn't angry with God. I was angry at myself. Sometimes I still feel like that, Amara, why did you allow yourself to be messed up? Why did you allow yourself to be deceived by the devil? So it affected me emotionally. It affected my choice level now. Then, sorry, not now. It affected me. I wasn't bold enough to speak against divorce. I wasn't bold enough to speak against some things. But now I have come back. God has healed me. God has made me whole again. Now I can speak to those people that are being messed up by the devil, that there is still hope for you. There is still hope for you.
Wow. Wow. So could you just tell us briefly, how did you pick up the broken pieces?
Wow. Now I'm going to tell you something that happened before we finally cut the marriage ribbon. What happened was that I was already, just like I said, I was mentally destroyed. I was already mentally destroyed. In fact, I became forgetful. I began to eat in the middle of the night. Once it's 2-3 a.m., I couldn't sleep. I was finding it difficult to sleep. If I managed to sleep for an hour, that is that I've slept. So I was not coordinated. I will be talking to you now and I forget what I'm talking about. Now, how I managed to get back to that, to get whole, was just like I said, I'm a prayer machine. I love prayers. You can't take prayers away from me. Maybe God was preparing me for such a time as that. That was how He pulled me in the army as a warrior, as a prayer machine. That was where I began. I was literally praying. Now what happened was, I had to get my spiritual healing first before the physical healing. I had a program, the Women on Their Knees program, and I was ministering, but they didn't know that I was having hotness in my brain. I was having hotness on my head. I was going cocoa, and I was having this. In fact, my doctor said I had minor stroke caused by the whole thing. I went through a lot. And I was praying and praying and praying, and I began to decree I will not lose my mind. I saw myself going. I saw it go. I saw myself going. Now I began to get spiritual intervention. I had some pastors around me. But when you surround yourself with good women, good people around you, it is you need to get that support system. I had a support system. They were actually supporting me spiritually. We were praying. I just thank God for Pastor Kristen. She was just there praying with me. We began to bind the spirit of mental instability, because the devil was actually meant for me to be mad. I was praying against it. In fact, literally, there was a time this guy opened up his mouth when the devil took over him. He was actually speaking to another man of God in front of me and saying that she is a great woman of God, but I'm going to stop her. That is why I have to do this. And he was speaking from the point of an old woman that is a juju priest in his village. He was just talking. Then the pastors had to tell me to get out of there. Amara, get out. Before they did whatever they wanted to do. But I began to take spiritual intervention. Now, after the spiritual intervention, I was ministering one day. I began to sing. I was leading when this man of God came all the way from Nigeria, because most of them use me for their conferences. I was singing. After that, In the middle of the night, the Holy Spirit came and did that operation himself. That's why he said, I cannot say anything outside God. God is just awesome. Sometimes there are some interventions you would take. If God is not there, brother, you've just wasted your money. You've just wasted your time. I was in that night because God, I have my relationship. I have the way God speaks to me at 4 a.m. in the morning. That is when he gives me instruction and does whatever he wants to do with me. At 4 a.m. in the morning, he opened my eyes and said, Amara, I want to do something with you. He said, use your right hand. He just saw my legs, and it was just dark and so much of black blood, like a scorpion, a big scorpion was on my leg. This was something happening spiritual, not physical. Don't forget that everything that happens in the physical, first of all, takes place in the spiritual realm. And the Lord asked me to use my hand, my hand, that I am the battle axe of him, and asked me to cut it off. As I cut it off, that was how I got my mental stability back. After that, I now went for an intervention. I told you about the counseling that I went through.
Yeah.
And I began to affirm. That's why I have this, my book that says I am. That was how God began to talk to me about affirmation. I began to affirm. My dad began to pray. My mother began to pray, just like I said, our pastors. They began to pray. And I like Pastor Chika Amadi, they intervened. They are lawyers. Everybody began to pray.
Pastor Amara, can you wrap up a bit so that we can, we have other...
Okay, now... Okay, how I got that, one, I went into I got spiritual intervention. Two, I worked on myself by myself, and I had support system. Three, I had physical intervention, which is counseling. Okay, so these are the three or four areas that I actually got my wholeness back. That is it.
Wow. Thank you so much. I think we just need to create a platform for you to share so much you have to share with us today. Thank you so much. I believe people are listening and taking this information on board. Joy Lifechanger, I want to ask you, because someone wrote here, how do we deal with life emotions after divorce?
Yeah, that's a very real question. I believe that Dr. Bethel and Pastor Amara, covered a whole lot, about the emotions themselves.
Yeah.
You understand? The emotion themselves. Depression is a real thing after marriage, because the disappointment, especially if you're not expecting it, especially if that was not your intention, especially, so it's heartbreak, it's heartbreak, it's real in the moment, and you can see how they talked about their emotions, manifesting in different ways. Doctor wanted to kill himself, you understand? Pastor Mara is kind of, was almost losing her mind. And so what I want to say is that how you deal with that is, first of all, allow yourself to grieve. It's a real thing that just happened. Disconnect a little bit, especially when, for instance, she's a pastor, Bethel is a doctor. You understand? You have real activity going on a daily basis, and you are plugged into a church that's gonna be a situation where it's like they expect your life to keep going. Nothing is wrong with you physically, and if you don't take that time away to grieve, and deal with that situation, you are like an accident waiting to happen. That's what it means, because you, in that moment, you just were involved, in something ghastly, and you need to treat yourself. You need to be able to tend to yourself. Whatever healing you need, take time and get it. So I recommend grief, assess what happened to you, assess the damage. This is real, this is what happened, and this is how it has affected me. Now, what do I need to do at this point? I need help. I recommend forgiveness, forgiveness without apology, because if you wait for the forgiveness that come with apology, you would be in unforgiveness, and you will be bitter for a long time. You understand? Because the person that wronged you, or the person that was responsible for what you are feeling, may even never get to a point in this lifetime of acknowledging it. So you have to, first of all, that's why I said, I don't like when people commonize my pain. I will not commonize somebody else's pain. If someone say I have a headache, don't say you are lying, you liar. Look at you looking, look at how fine you are looking. How can you have a headache? My friend, come on, fit. If you don't want to go to dinner with me, just tell me. You understand? Don't allow the pressure to deceive you that, okay, if somebody say I have a headache, the first thing that should come is empathy. Oh, sorry, how does it feel? Is it on the right? Is it on the left? You understand? So, and if you need to know that, do that for yourself. To say, I need to find healing. I need to find, even if nobody sees that my head is aching because no smoke is coming out of my head. I know I'm unwell. I know that I need to tend to myself. I need to take time out, go take a nap, go visit my happy place, visit my happy company, the people who give me positive energy, surround myself at that moment, make sure that I'm not isolated so I don't do anything stupid, have people that are speaking life into my life, even as I speak life. And part of that process is also to forgive, like I said, without apology. Don't say, I will forgive when they apologize. I will forgive when they are offered. I will forgive. No, when you don't forgive, you are carrying a bomb and you're about to explode it. And you think that that's vengeance on the other person. Forgiveness is more for yourself. It facilitates your healing, And I would say also access the damage. What have I lost and what do I have left? Never end a situation with only what you have lost. Always count what you have left. There's a woman in the Bible who lost a husband and was in debt. And people were coming to collect, but she sought help. And when the prophet came, the prophet did not bring money to her. The prophet did not give her a brown envelope. When you are divorced, even people who say they love you are going to let me ease myself, I'm coming. then they're not going to tell you they're walking out of your life, but they are going to just take an excuse and never show back up again, because there's a status that married people like to keep around themselves, and if people don't discern you, they will feel like, I don't want to be in the company of a divorced person so that me too, I don't end up catching the virus. You understand, and one of the things I said one time in the teaching, I say, even divorced people avoid divorced people. That is how bad divorce is. You understand? Because divorced people don't want to be in the company of divorced people so that their status or their situation is not amplified. So everybody is kind of trying to look for how to mix in the crowd that will make them look good. So I genuinely, recommend that you give yourself that healing. You understand? You don't pursue. That's the wrong time to pursue people. There's something, a mistake that other people make as well. It's a wrong time to pursue people to be telling the story, my own side of the story. No, don't ever be drawn into that. It's energy you don't have in that moment. So allow people to think whatever they think. Resuscitate yourself first. Get your healing first. But if you are on the phone constantly or busy visiting everybody, that, oh, I just want to tell you what happened in the accident. I was not the one at fault. It was the truck that hit me. You have not been healed yet. You want to talk about your story. You want to be right. You want to say your own. You are thinking about what people are thinking. You are going to die with the small energy you have left. You are going to lose it. What the prophet told that woman, he said, what do you have? He didn't bring anything. People don't give you when you are divorced. You understand? Because in that moment, you have nothing to offer them. But when God activates the little you have, the prophet told her, what do you have? And she said, I have just a little oil. So never allow the situation to end up with what you have lost. Always come back to what do I have left. And one of my quotes, I say that your worth in life is not based on what you lost. Your worth in life is based on what you do with what is left.
That's a strong one.
Do you understand? So at the end of the day, the woman had a little oil. Do you know the instruction the prophet told her? He said, go and borrow vessels and then enter your room and lock the door and begin to pour. So these are steps that you have to take sometimes. Avoid people to grieve. Close your door. Don't have the pressure, the need to be everywhere talking your own part of the story. No, don't worry. When you survive, they will want to know how you survived. That's the most important. So in that moment, live, breathe, forgive. You understand? Let go of negative, emotions and forgive without apology. And also take inventory of what you have left. It's good to know what you lost, but know what you have left and use what you have left until you are okay enough to say, well, this is how I survived. And that time when your story is worth telling, people will line up to listen.
Wow.
Okay.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, you have actually covered quite a lot. Now, we are just having an eye on the clock and we have like 7 minutes because I had to plead with our attendees. Could you just tell us, because a lot of people are wondering, how did you manage your sexual desire briefly, please? I'll start with you, Joy Lifechangers.
Not just how did you,
how do you manage?
Yeah.
Because, considering the situation right now,
Yeah,
how do
because
you manage?
if I tell you how I manage my sexual desire, this program may just close right now. Like your computer may just crash. So
briefly, please.
Oh my God, I think Dr. Betta is going to do an awesome job with that question. But I just have a feeling in the spirit that he's gonna do awesome with that. But you see, that's a real thing, though. It's a real thing. Because we're all sexual human beings. So the fact that you don't have a partner, you don't have a husband, does not mean that feeling is not gonna come. But there's something that, especially for the self-control, is part of the fruit of the spirit. Okay. Mm-hmm. And one thing I've always believed is that even as a single person, if you don't have self-control as a single person, you're gonna have self-control even in the marriage. So if you have developed your relationship with God to the point where you have self-control, as a single person, even in the marriage, you are tempted. Even when you understand, in the marriage, you still have people coming at you. So discipline, the personal discipline is important. You understand, and priority for me, everything is mindset. It's priority. As a woman, I'm very busy. Sex is an energy. You understand? It's a mental state. When you stay, you think. For instance, I had the whole day yesterday. I was doing leadership training. And I went to bed at 4 a.m. and I had to get up at 8 to be here. You understand? And when I finish, I have another meeting tonight. Do you understand? That I have to come. So if you are single, the Bible says that you will be about the Lord's business. You'll be about the Lord's business. It's an energy. Where if you are idle, an idle man is the devil's workshop. If you are idle, feeling sorry for yourself, watching Indian films and wishing how your life should have played out to be like that guy that's dancing in front of that woman, you are setting up yourself for a crash. You understand? So I always believe that your mindset, set your priorities and set your energy. I believe in outlet. As I'm talking now, this is energy I'm giving out. By the time I'm done here, I'm going to be tired. You understand? I'm going to be thinking about the next thing that I'm going to do. So at the end of the day, it's what you set your energy to do. It's your priority. And for me not to be unrealistic, I have to also tell you that one of the outlets I believe is give yourself a chance at love again. Okay, that's how to manage your emotions. Give yourself a chance at love again. When someone looks at you and say, "Oh, you're beautiful, I love you," or "I want to, have a relationship with you," give yourself a chance at love again. So when you are expressing, these are all emotions that you're expressing, and there's no woman that doesn't want to feel beautiful. There's no woman that, if you want to be in another relationship again, give yourself the benefit. That's how you manage yourself. You understand? But if I want to wrap my point up by saying, both the married and the unmarried, the Bible says in Corinthians, if we are living in a time where even the married and the unmarried should live as though they are not married, because the time is short. That's what I will leave that. So I will turn it over to Dr. Bethel.
Dr. Bettels, please.
Okay, just like she kind of tried to really overemphasize a lot of points there. I know for some reason, sexual desires or sexual drive is probably more in a man than women. Like she said, women, there's so many things they could involve themselves with, their children, running around and, so many things. Women have a lot to do. But for me, yes, I know too what is absolutely, absolutely difficult for a man, because at times it's something that, boom, it will just from nowhere come into your head. But again, you have to ask yourself, how was it when you were single? You were able to control yourself. I'm talking about my story. I know my story may not be other person's story. As a single man, I was able to control my sexual desires and until marriage. So now that I still believe in Jesus, I still believe the word of God, and I still believe that sex outside marriage is still sin. So what do? There's something I call intentional distraction. So I created a lot of activities around myself. Like I know that I used to read in the past, but the way I read now that I study, so I know in the past I also focus on romantic books at times. I don't read romantic books anymore. I hardly watch romantic movies anymore. I never liked horror movies. Now I'm so excited about horror movies because I want something I could watch, that would take my that wouldn't really give me a picture of what to think about. This is how I intentionally distract myself. Now I sign up to so many volunteer groups here in New York. I can't even count so many of them. I would just say I'll just volunteer. Religious or anything that has to do with humanity, I sign up. And by the time you come back, you're tired. I know in the past, before Corona, I had 3 jobs. So you do all this, by the time you come back from work, you're completely tired. And again, let's not forget the role grace plays in the life of a believer. Bible talking about God will never allow any temptation greater than you to come to you. It still, holds true today. I have never been placed in a situation where I'm like, oh my God, I feel like, no. Because like I said, it's something I intentionally wrap myself in. I travel a lot, and that's one of the reasons why I travel a lot. So when I travel, my kind of itinerary is so packed that I leave very early in the morning to just see places, to get to know, the stories surrounding the cities that I'm visiting. By the time I come back, it's very late. No matter how beautiful the hotel is, I go straight to bed. Eat, go straight to bed, wake up in the next day, and boom, I'm out again. So it has become, over years, it has become a part of me. And I've also learned to make fun of myself. If you can find somebody, a friend or whoever that you can actually make fun of your situation. I have married people who are my friends. At times we talk about all these things and we laugh. They're like, oh, what are you doing? I'm here with my wife. I'm like, okay, no problem. Very soon I'll also call you with my wife. I just laugh over it. And it's actually a good thing if you can laugh at yourself after all that you've been through. After so many things that you felt you're losing your mind and all that, and then you come out through all these things, you now realize that, hey, I'm actually stronger than I thought I am. Mentally, physically, sexually, and otherwise. So I don't think that sexual desires, I still have it, but I don't think is something that I wrap myself around. Plus, marriage is much more than sex. Yes, sex is very, very important in marriage, but there's so much more in marriage. So the idea of every day I wake up is like I'm thinking about sex. Hell no. I want to get married again. I want to fall in love again. And definitely I want to do it better this time around. I've learned the mistakes I've made. I've learned, things I shouldn't repeat. I've learned how to make it wonderful. And I know there's somebody out there that God has assigned or designed for me. But when the time is right, we have to do it right. I will not make the mistake of yesteryears. So it's going to be absolutely different. Absolutely different.
Okay, before you go, I think we are done with today's program. Our time is up. If we keep talking, we'll talk until it's 7 o'clock. In 1 minute, what advice will you give someone who is married now? When they apply it, their marriage will be divorce proof?
Yeah.
Or divorce proof?
Yeah.
Dr. Bethel, back
We'll
to
start
you.
with you and then.
Oh, okay. I would say communication is very, very important in a marriage. As a matter of fact, so many things fall apart when you don't communicate with your spouse. However you feel, communicate it. and listen to each other. Empathy is very, very important. Even to the point of listening or hearing what is not being said. I know nobody is the Holy Spirit to understand what's in your heart, but God has given us also the Spirit to understand what is not even being said when somebody is trying, particularly somebody you love, someone is trying to communicate with you. And it's very important that at times couple take a time out to go on vacation. Very, very important. Because at times when we stay in familiar territory, we tend to lose sight of who we are to each other. When Joy Changer was talking about people, who could leave the marriage because of sexual starvation, it just reminded me about a friend of mine who told me, he called me and said, I was like, how are you doing? How's your wife? And they were like, can you believe that we've not had sex for more than 1 year? I said, what? And this is a couple that I love so much. Just like I was talking about, you see their pictures on Facebook, they look, I said, what is going on? Oh, that the wife is always busy. She comes back at home. Whenever I touch her, I say, no. I said, you know what? You guys need vacation. I said, when was the last time we went on vacation? They've never been on a vacation since they got married. Of course, Nigerians feel that people shouldn't go on vacation. I now say, you know what? I'm going to pay for it. I paid for a hotel in Calabar, and I asked them, you guys should go there, leave your kids, spend the weekend in Calabar, because I don't like what I'm hearing. And they went there, spent the weekend, came back, the marriage has changed. So there are little things that couples could do to strengthen their marriage, but we tend to get busy with so many things, particularly Christians. Church. They go to Tuesday class, they go to Bible study, women ministry. They pay attention to everything that has to do with spiritual thing. And the most important ministry God called the two of them together, they do not pay attention to. So I believe that couples should make time for themselves. Be open to each other. Be vulnerable to each other. It's not because, like I said, trust is the foundation love, hinges on. So whatever you could do to make sure that the trust that you have with each other stays alive, just do it. Because once trust erodes, love starts dying.
Wow.
Thank you, Chipin.
Okay, just ask Pastor Amara, please, if you can give us divorce proof briefly, please, briefly. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I just want to just tell this to everyone that is in marriage too. The Bible talked about men treating women with respect according to the knowledge you have of your wife. And I say this to women as well. You need to treat your husband according to the knowledge you know about him. Do not use somebody else's marriage as a yardstick to yours. Yes, your pastors, they are wearing good clothes on Sundays and they're actually showcasing you, kissing on pulpits. Don't just come and tell my husband, you must kiss me the way the pastor is kissing his wife, or you must kiss me the way they are doing that. Build your marriage. Every marriage has its own manual. Check for your own manual. We have a general manual, which is the word of God. But every marriage has their own package. You know what you want you have your own plan and your purpose. Work according to your plan, not according to someone else's plan. Build and invest. Build and invest in each other. Build and invest in each other. And I will say this. Husbands and wives, they should have a journal of what the marriage would want to accomplish in the next 3 months, next 6 months, next 1 year, 5 years. Have a 5 years plan together and make sure you work things out together. And do not forget, there's a saying that says a family that prays together, they do what? They enjoy together. They live together. Prayer is the key. Keep praying, understanding, let it be there. And please, do not model your marriage according to what you see on social media. Try and enjoy your marriage. Try and just fly in your marriage, soar in your marriage. Please be vulnerable. Enjoy each other's company. There is no marriage in heaven. Enjoy it here. If there is any style you want to do it anywhere, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Wow.
much. Let's just.
I think we would ask him, Pastor Joy. Yes,
Joy
please.
Lifechangers.
Yes, she needs to tell us in brief how we can divorce proof, and then we would let others come in, please.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a mantra that we use for our love campaign, which is the love movement side of what I do. And the mantra is this: don't love me the way you think I should be loved. Love me the way I will feel loved.
Wow.
Because the thing in marriage a lot of times is that the man is swearing he loves his wife. The woman is swearing I love my husband, but neither is acknowledging. You understand? So we don't want God to be the only one that knows that you love your wife. We don't want God to be the only one that knows that you love your husband. We want your husband to know you love him, and we want your wife to know that you as a husband love your wife. So find the language of love that your wife or your husband understands and speak it. So don't love them the way you think you should be loved. Don't love them the way your father loved your mother. Don't say, this is what my ex-girlfriend, if I do this, she used to scream and shout. No, this is her, this is him. Love them the way they will feel loved. And secondly, grow together. Growth together is both of you are facing the same direction and going like this. But a lot of times couples grow. Don't be satisfied that we are growing. If you are growing in opposite direction, look at my hands, you're going to end in two different places. So always, but if you grow together, both of you are going in the same direction. You're looking at the same thing. You're inhaling the same thing. You're going to stay together if you grow together. So grow together. Finally, pour into each other, make memories. You cannot withdraw from a bank account that you have not made deposit into. So pour into each other, make memories, because someday that memory could be the saving grace of the marriage. That's all. Thank you.
Wow.
It has been explosive.
I know if we allow our panelists to talk today, we wouldn't leave here, but we said it's a 2-hour program, and now we've shot beyond 2 hours. So thank you everyone for sticking with us to the end. And I think some of the participants want to
say something. Yeah. But before they say something, I just want to briefly just share my screen just to tell you about our next event actually coming up on the 15th of November. And it's basically talking about family and finance. And this program is just basically bringing two experts, so people who have actually started business, built business, seasoned business, and it's about teaching families how they can create multiple streams of income. So I just thought I should put it out there. Now we would hand over to our audience. I think they want to say something. So I found, what's her name? Alade Sami wants to say something. So I would want to unmute her. Or do you want to say something?
Before you unmute her, we just want to say thank you very much to our panelists for sharing. It's not easy to come on board to share personal experience and your knowledge to our participants and to everyone. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate what you've done.
And we understand that this is a very personal thing, very personal to you. And we want to say thank you for availing yourself. And I'm sure that your labor of love will not be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you.